Right. This video is all about oil pastels and chalk pastels, and I'm making this video especially for Abby. She's asked for a video all about chalk pastels and oil pastels so that she can learn how to use them some more, and I thought that's a great idea. So we are going to start by talking about using these just by themselves, and I have a white paper and a black paper so you can see how they work on different colors. So first let's get out some oil pastel colors here, and we're going to talk about making them lighter and darker and blending them with just my color. Okay, so I have two shades of blue, I have a white and a black. So first of all, on my black paper, I want you to notice how these colors look compared to on my white paper. So you can see they show up pretty well on either one. And I can use blending on these by blending in my white. I can blend in a second color. I can go back and forth between two colors to get them to blend more by layering them. Okay, and then let's look at this on here. Same thing. Notice that the white shows up better because it's on the black paper, so that's kind of fun. And the same thing, I'm just mixing colors by layering these different colors on top of each other. So I've done white, regular blue, and light blue. Let's see what happens with the black. Okay, so of course the black shows up less on the black paper than it does on the white paper. But I like to show this because one of the great things about oil pastels is that they show up really well on a dark paper. And that's something that you might not be able to do as much with something like a crayon, right? So you can play with layering these and mixing colors to see what happens. Alright, so that's just plain using the colors, okay? So another thing I want to do now is show you the same exact thing but with the chalk pastels. Here, so let's see what these colors look like compared to my oil pastels that are right here. So again, you can see they can look really bright on a black paper, which is really cool. Now, one of the things you're going to notice, look at all this powder here. So there's a couple ways to get rid of that depending on where you are. You can blow on it to blow away the dust, but if you do that, make sure you're kind of swallowing first. You don't end up spitting all over your paper because that would be gross. But you can also either have some paper towel or a trash can next to you, and you can just tap, 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 and that way you control where the powder goes, and you don't have to worry about it getting all over your house or your classroom, depending on where you're making your art. Okay, so here's my blue, and you can see it looks pretty similar. Let's do some, this is a gray, actually I thought it was going to be brown, but it was a little dirty, so I couldn't tell. And then see, I can again overlap these to mix them. Some white-ish, it's kind of like a yellowish white, but it'll still get to the idea. Ooh, I like this pretty turquoise color. So you can still blend with this, but you'll notice if you don't clean it regularly from the dust, it gets kind of hard to see what you're doing. So something to keep in mind. Now let's talk blending. Okay, so I can blend just with my colors like this, but there are other things I can use to blend too. So I can use paper towel, cotton swabs or cotton balls. So see, here's the swabs, and these are like flat instead of cotton balls. So I can blend with them just like this dry. So for example, with my Q-tip here, see I'm doing little circles, and that blends it even more. And look how I can drag that color and it becomes really pale, so that can kind of be cool if I want things to look faded. Okay, let's see it on the black paper. So there's an example of what happens when you like see the dust goes everywhere. So if you don't want to do that, I suggest having a trash can or a paper towel to tap it on. So I blend with this, and one of the things you'll notice on the black paper is if I blend it too much, the colors lose some of their brightness. And so I do want to be careful with that. I may want to use an oil pastel if I'm going to be blending a lot because it'll be brighter. Okay, now on these, I can blend with my Q-tip just like I did with my chalk pastels, and I can also use, for example, like these to drag more if I want to blend more. But again, the more I blend, the lighter and paler the colors get. If I want to do another type of blending, which is really cool, I can actually use baby oil, and this is just normal baby oil. Instead of blending just with a Q-tip, I can blend with a baby oil, and it's going to make it blend like paint, and it looks really cool. You can actually find another video on here where I did a radial design by blending the baby oils and with the oil pastels, and it was really cool. So that blends a little bit differently if I use baby oil. It keeps its nice smooth texture compared to blending by itself. Okay, but you don't even have to blend these. You can just draw on them. So it's really cool to do that. So let's turn this paper over here. Let's try another chalk pastel. So you can see I can get a lot of coverage with these chalk pastels really quickly. And I just love the way oil pastels and chalk pastels look on black paper. And I can do blending by overlapping colors. And then either shake or blow that off, but be careful where you're letting all that dust go. And like I can go back and forth between colors, and I'm going to get a lot of blending. Okay, so this is really cool. I just love playing around with my chalk pastels and my oil pastels. Now, something else that's really cool with chalk pastels is you can actually use them with water or paint to get some other techniques. So I'm going to show you that when I finish with this one. But what I want to show you here actually is that you can use oil pastels on top of chalk pastel. Now, you can't do it the other way. If I have oil pastels already and I try to do chalk on top, it's not really going to work for me. But I can put some oil pastel on top of my chalk. So let me show you that. So let's say I've got this base color down and I want something else. I want some details that are nice and dark. So I can take my oil pastel and look, I can actually draw on top of my chalk pastel, and it gives me just another technique to add some details to make my picture more interesting. I'm doing a white on top of this one. And again, I can draw on top of the chalk pastel with the oil pastel. I can't go the other way around. It's just not going to work for me, okay? And I'm not blending these things. I'm using them just to add lines on top. So I'm not really getting to mix them like I do when I use the same material, but I can overlap the oil pastels on top. So how cool is that? All right, now let's talk water and white paint with our chalk pastels. This is going to be so fun. This is going to get a little messy. So before you do this, make sure you have mom and dad's permission. You'll probably want to put newspaper down, okay? We do this in class all the time, and we wear aprons and put newspaper down so it's easier to clean up. So keep that in mind if you're doing this at home, okay? So first of all, let's use water because that one's pretty simple. So just like last time, I'm going to do this on white and black paper so you can see the difference. Now again, I am using chalk pastels right now. Do not do this with your oil pastels. Okay, so first let's look at water. I can dip my chalk pastels in water and draw with them, and they become more painty. So it looks like I'm painting, and we're going to blend more like paint, and the colors actually are going to get brighter, and they're not going to be as dusty, which is kind of cool. But my fingers, you're going to notice my fingers are a mess by the time I'm done today. So make sure you wash your hands really well when you're done. Okay, look how I blend those chalk pastels. That is on the white paper, and it looks kind of weird right now because it's not dry. So it's looking a little muddy for y'all, but it's really not. It's so pretty. Now let's look at black paper. Look how that just seems to, oh, you guys can't see that. All right, let's look at black paper here. Look at this, just seems to glow on this paper, and when it dries, it looks so beautiful. Okay. And I can blend the colors, I can make lines. You can even then draw with the chalk pastel, so let's look here, regularly, and then you can take your water and you can blend it out. Now notice water makes things look darker, so you can't see this very well right now, but when it dries, the water goes away and the bright colors are just going to pop up. Let's look at this on. So you can see here what it's doing. You're basically turning this into paint, which is really fun. It almost looks like tempera cakes when we paint with those. So that's really cool. All right, white paint. This is so much fun. If you remember learning about Impressionism, depending on which class you're in, which grade level you're in, you may have learned about Impressionism this year or last year. So let's look. We can do something similar to that by dipping in white paint and drawing, and it gives us those lines that we see a lot of times with Impressionism where you see the brush strokes. So that's kind of cool. And it just, again, it's just giving you something new to do, a fun way to play with it. It's so much fun. You could do this with any color paint. I like white because white goes with everything. So you don't have to worry about if the colors are going to clash. Now, when you look at your chalk pastels after you've done this, look, they're really dirty. So before the white paint dries, you need to clean them off so that white paint doesn't dry on there. So see, you just wipe it with a paper towel or cotton ball, you'll be fine. Okay. Let's look here. Ooh, let's try the blue in here. Let's hold this close so y'all can really see how pretty this is. See how cool that looks? And look, you can already see this blue is getting brighter as the water dries. Okay. And then let's look how these are looking as they dry. Let's try some of this white paint on white paper. You can see it looks different. It's going to give you a different look every time you experiment with the paper color, not just with the materials, but with the color of the paper, the type of paper. That changes what your art looks like. All right, so that's really fun. So these are just a few different techniques for you to try. Now, if you have used regular chalk pastel and you need it to set and you don't have anything else at home, you can use hairspray to set these. And actually, my favorite hairspray to use to set my chalk pastels is Aquanet hairspray. It comes in a purple spray bottle, and it is really good for setting your chalk pastels. So that's something to keep in mind as you are experimenting with materials. Chalk pastels especially will continue to rub away and create a mess until you set them. If you've done them with the water, that helps them, or the chalk or the paint, it helps to hold on to a lot of those chalk powders. But especially just plain chalk on white paper, you're going to need something to set it. So think hairspray if you have nothing else at home. They also have, like Krylon makes a spray that's specific for pastels and charcoal work. You can use those. But the Aquanet hairspray works really well, and it's really inexpensive, and you can find it at like Walmart or any kind of store like that really easily. So there you go. Those are just a little tutorials on chalk pastels and oil pastels. If you want to see more experimenting with different materials, let me know. Or if you want to see more stuff with chalk pastel or oil pastel, just let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll make those videos for you. Okay? All right. Thank you so much.